What's going on, guys? We are back out on the property in East Texas. A little warm today, but not too terrible. We've been having some decent weather lately. Doing some updates. I've definitely got some stuff taken care of. Don't know if you can tell here, but did a little cleanup of our parking area last time, so I'm not deep in the weeds. Did a little cleaning here, and then also this area here was full of tall weeds and stuff, so got that cleaned up. Tractor's all good. Got the hose replaced. Give you a quick show on that. So anybody else that just so happens to have a 5145 or 5155 Mahindra, you probably already know, but so there's kind of your hydraulic junction there. I believe this is a mechanical cable that runs into the back of that junction, and then it turns into hydraulic pressure to divert out from there. So this time we replaced this hose here. So the hose replacement itself is actually not terrible. It's quite simple. But once you take this bolt out, first time I didn't know this, take this bolt out, this battery actually swings out just like that, and it gives you better access. That's great. Second thing is, the biggest pain in the butt is not actually changing the hoses on this. It's the two bolts that go on the bottom of this into there. They made the tolerance extremely tight, and they didn't taper the opening. So when you're up under the tractor and you're trying to put those bolts back in, they're virtually impossible to get lined up unless you've got a nail or a pick or something like that to feel up under for the hole to make sure you're lined up, and then try to thread it in and hope you're hitting the thread. So yeah, so that's the update on that, but got that up and running, hydraulic fluid topped off, running like a champ again. Actually, I learned for the first time, I knew that diesels have water separators, but this is the first time I've had to deal with it on this one. I had a light up on the dash for water in the diesel. It's because of this sensor here and the separator. There was water in here, and there was actually a little bit of that diesel algae growing inside of there. So I unscrewed the relief there, drained that out, tightened it up, primed it up, ran it, and runs like a champ. So no issues there. So we're back in business there. Real quick before we go over to the cabin, as you can tell, right over there, there is no longer a front of the outhouse. That was just a decision that I decided on because of the amount of length that I needed to level wasn't worth it, and I actually had another idea for that extra 4 feet. It will eventually probably, that little section that was 4 feet that I cut off there, that'll probably be great for the IBC tote for collecting water off of that roof once we get all of that finished up and set into place and set up. So got some things on the list for that today. Door handles, spring-loaded door closer, and an inside latch. Hopefully I can get all that done today. And then also a plastic barrier around the inside where all of the deeds are done. So coming back over here, I actually brought this back from the house today. This is a very large tree pot. If you look here, that's a 5-gallon water bottle. It's larger than that and like taller. Well, the nozzle is about that. So I'm assuming that's about 2 feet in height, and then probably 9, 12, maybe 14, 16 inches across. I'm going to actually dig the hole, the pit for the outhouse, cut the hole out of the bottom, and I'm going to make the hole big enough that I can sit that into it and drop it down about 4 inches below ground level. So I want this lip maybe 2 to 4 inches below ground, and then all of the rest of that is the bottom of the pit. I know a lot of people dig massive pits, and it's not a huge concern for me because it's 95% of the time it's just me out here. So we got that. We'll cut the hole out of that. That will be a stabilizer, because if you look down here, this is all sand. And actually, if I can find, here we go. It's where we got a little bit of washing out. This is nearly beach sand out here. Super, super fluffy stuff. So I want to prevent the walls of the pit from caving in. And that is going to be my resolution. And if you look here, we have a patio. It's the byproduct of cutting off the front area of the outhouse. For now, it's just going to be a little landing. If it's raining and you're unlocking the doors out here, this was a brand new container, so it actually had the welded lockbox on the front there. So whenever you come out, you can stand on the landing and get into here without sitting in the mud and all of that. So we got that, and you probably already had a sneak peek here. The door's in and the window. So that is all installed. Window is caulked in, as you can see, all the screws and sealed up, and the door is installed all the way there. Let's see, we'll get a little zoomed out. There we go. If anybody has any advice on if they like the recording like this is half zoom, so you've got a much bigger perspective, but you do have a little fish-eyeing going on, but you get a lot more in the shot across versus like this at a 1x. I gotta back up another 6 or 8 feet to get the same perspective. So I've been doing it in half zoom to get that wider perspective, especially in enclosed here. So we got some protein pellets from Walmart. I need to get that out. Let's show inside. So just got the door handle. Haven't got the lock put in yet, but I do have it. And it's a little dark in here now that this entire wall is up and the window's in, and it does move smoothly. Move this out of the way. Nice smooth motion. And I'm hoping, I don't know if it's the function, but these drop down and then they stay kind of midway. I don't know if that was an issue with the install or if that's just how it is. But got that, so I'll probably put a board in here to keep this up, unless I'm just an idiot and don't know if there's some kind of locking mechanism that I am unaware of on here. New addition, I got this off of Amazon, a little deal showing temperature and humidity. I just opened this up about 10 minutes ago, so that's our current in here. I do have the fan open, the fan on and the window open back there, and the front open to get some cross airflow. So this is about resting temperature right now is 89 degrees, and we're looking around 65% humidity. So I've got one of the other sensors. So there's 3 sensors. I only have one with batteries in it and set up right now. And it's just thrown up on this back window. So It's showing a little drier, and that's probably because of the fresh air coming in is helping get rid of some of the moisture in here. But the plan for today and the goal is this. I mentioned it in the last video about our conundrum about the vent here, the exhaust vent to get the hot moist air out of here. And so we got a register box. I think it's R4. It's quite thick. I'm gonna say 1.5 inches worth of insulation in there. And this was a concern that I had. So looks like we are gonna have some difficulty. So as you can see here, there were no dimensions on this box other than the opening dimensions for the vent. And this is a 4x12 opening, but I did not have any dimensions on overall box height or width. I assumed there was 1.5 inches or so below and above. And of course I forgot to measure the opening beforehand, but it looks like we're gonna run into some fitment issues here. Because if I am able to get this in the slot, which if you notice this 2x4 is unfortunately in the way for test fitting at all. But if I take that outside board off and I remove this upper and lower flange, I could actually come in from the outside and put it in there. But then we have the issue of actual opening size. When I picked out the vent size, 4 inches was kind of the narrowest. And I think now that I'm looking at this box, I am not going to have the opportunity to put this in here because it will conflict with the ceiling. If you notice here, box is top to bottom. So the ceiling, I'm looking at 1/4 inch plywood to screw on here. That leaves a little bit if this was the height, but the problem is this is in front of the 2x4. If I raised this up and got this all the way inside that box, I don't think there's going to be enough room here. So unless I cut this header out, that's not optimal, but it's not structural. If I cut from here to here, I could get this to work. I don't know, guys. I know that it's not a load-bearing wall up here, that top plate. It's just kind of wedged in. But it doesn't support anything because obviously the metal ceiling. But if anybody has any information on this, this idea that I'm about to spit out is if I cut this off, actually if I cut them here, pull these out and cut this here, actually not there exactly, but in order to line up with the sides of the box. If I did that here and went 2x and then changed this from on top but all the way down so I could nail sideways, so it's kind of boxing this in. Do that here and then do that here and remove this entirely. I could make this work if that would be feasible, because I could actually put it right in there. And I can cut the top tab off, cut the bottom tab off, and just use the side tabs to secure it. Let me know what you think of that idea. The secondary idea I have is changing this up entirely, using this vent as an intake and putting it somewhere down here. So you've got obviously the door and window. Down below the window, maybe somewhere about 1.5 feet off the ground, right here. Going ahead and cutting this and then boxing this out in order to create, instead of what I had here was an exhaust vent to get the hot air from the ceiling out, I could create an intake, more of a colder air intake, kind of the coldest air I can get, ground level, pulled in here, and then let the window function as an exhaust. It's not quite as high as I would have preferred for an exhaust, but it is significantly higher. So there's about a foot, I don't know, 1.5 feet to the top of this window, so it will still create kind of a hot air pocket in here. And now keep in mind, when I'm out here and the AC's not running, the doors are going to be open, the windows are going to be open. That's not what the purpose of this is. This is going to be on the cooler nights where, rather when I have the propane heater going, or it's actually not cold enough to turn on the heater, and just to pull the moisture from the body heat, essentially, so it doesn't turn into you know, a nasty mess in here, that there's just a little bit of airflow. So if you've got any pointers on that, if you think down there that's probably not too bad of a fix, just cut and then box that in and create that as an intake. Not exactly what I wanted, but doable. Or like I said, cutting this 2x here and here, removing this in section, and then running a 2x4 all the way down, and then bolting or screwing in this way and this way into the side of the board right here. So let me know what you think of that idea. I'd appreciate that, because this is literally where I'm stuck at. I did, oh yes, almost forgot to update you guys on this. My power's outside now. I've got my 60 amp disconnect box installed out here. Now all of this still needs to be wired up. I am working on the wiring in the box, in the main breaker box, but got this in. The caulking, absolutely hideous caulking job, but it's hopefully sealed. And then we've already got this wired up in here. I'll wire nut this neutral, since it's not going anywhere right now. Got my hots, my ground all secured, so got that set up for now, and we'll just have wire to be able to tap into out here. Who knows, I could put in an outlet here, or heck, even run a conduit under and get to the outhouse. Anything. That was all that was for, is so that I had power access outside. So otherwise, what's on the list today is, part of the day is going to be staring at this wall, trying to decide what is going to be the best scenario. I really liked the idea of the vent being up there, but slightly poor planning on not really understanding the height of the ceiling and the drop down and all of that. That's just a poor planning mistake. So secondary option would be a vent on this wall. So I didn't really want anything protruding from this wall as a vent, and so this is not this isn't going to look near as good down there sticking out. Will be easier to open and close the flap, but won't look near as good there as it would up there. So yeah, got some chewing to do. If anybody's got any suggestions, I prefer not to take this door out again, because it took me a while to get it leveled because of how out of level this container is. So getting the jam straight, getting all of the gaps right, that was a pain. So anyway, if you've got any suggestions, let me know, and I'll hopefully I haven't made too much progress today on this, and I can figure out what the best course of action. But otherwise, that's where we're at, and I'll keep you updated. Y'all take it easy. God bless, and like and subscribe. All right, we're back. Finishing up today, and scratch the last video, or I should say the earlier portion of this video, if I find out how to edit and put this with it. All right, as you can see here, I put another 2x4. Actually, to rewind, I cut the sides of that board just wide enough. Let me get from the outside so you have a better perspective. All right, cut the top plate over the door and double top plate at the top, wedged in another piece there, and I will be putting another piece in there. I guess kind of sort of makeshift jack stud something. But what I will be doing, just don't have the time, I'm wrapping up. Gonna be putting some boards from here to here and here to there. And so that will completely box in this register box. And another issue that I did not discuss earlier, oh, actually, I don't think I showed you guys. This is the vent. So if you see there, got a little screen, a couple little buttons there. I'll run through the functionality of this after I've got it set up. That's it. That's a 4x12 into a 4x12 register box. So there was a complication that didn't get discussed earlier in the video. This box is actually too deep for this wall, as you can see here. This is where the wall is, and that sticks out almost exactly the distance that my siding is. Grab a piece here real quick. So it's 3/4 inch treated ply, and if you look there, that's probably about a 1/2 inch. So I was jumbling around what to do with this earlier, and I was originally going to push this forward, flush it up with the outside wall, and then create a beauty ring. Basically have this sit on the inside plywood, which I'm doing 3/4 inch birch inside on the walls. So I was going to put it here, and then I was like, I'd have to make a beauty ring here to fill this, and then this would go on this beauty ring. But in my brilliance, I was like, why would I mess up the flow of this nice clean wall when I could just do a beauty ring out here? Won't be exactly a beauty ring. What I'll do is I'll cut the siding to go around this box. So it'll go here, up, over, and there. And then this will be exposed and it'll fit into the slot. Then I'll actually put another piece over this that, it'll go 1 or 2 inches all the way around. And that's what I will secure my vent to. This here. So this will be on the back side, mounted to that other piece. and I can seal that up right back here, and that will make all of that solid. So I think I'd rather have a bump out here instead of a bump out inside. I want to walk up, see it nice and clean. And as you guys, don't know if you noticed, this is my electrical box now for the lighting. In the last video, I think I discussed having a light, having a box, a receptacle here for outside, and then having the other receptacle here for the vent. And I was discussing how it was crammed and was worried about how to figure all that out. After I was moving this around, I was like, why don't I just put it here? Literally in the same column as the switch is. So power comes in, runs up the column, goes to the switch, and goes to the light switch. And so that puts it dead center between the door opening and the window opening. And so that'll allow different variations of light setups. I can run some low rope lights around here, or a pendant drop light in the middle, whatever. But that takes care of that. So I've got my outlet there and my other outlet there. That's going to be for the GFCI. And the only other outlet that's going to be here is once this is moved and I paint this wall. Actually, I'm going to have to do this before that because of the spray foam. I need to drill a hole there so I can put my 30 amp plug in and run this 10.3. It's 10.3. I don't know. Whatever this is, the bigger stuff. I'm pretty sure it's 10.3. Yeah, run that through here. I'll pick a height that I think is comfortable. I don't want to be too low to the ground. I'm 6'4". I hate bending over for stuff too much, so probably going to do something like here, about 2.5 feet off the ground. I don't want to go too high, obviously, because if you've got a generator running around the corner, you don't want the wire, the cord going from up here, you know, dropping 4.5 feet to the ground. So something around, you know, half the height of that. So that's about 20 inches, 24 inches, something like that. That'd be a good height there. And then it can run around the corner where the generator will be set up and running. So doesn't look like a lot of progress. I did get to wiring up the box. So I've got, let me get a light on this. Actually, I think you can see this better than I can see. This is outside circuit, which is going to the disconnect box. This first circuit here is generator. So we got double pole 30, double pole 30, double pole 30. Disconnect box, generator plug out front. The main will actually drop down and be just a plug right about here. And this will go to a portable power bank, or eventually I may get a dedicated inverter in 48 volt or 51 volt LiPo 4 battery. And that setup will go in this corner by the bed here, and then I want access to the power controls in here in case in the middle of the night it's dark, I want to turn on some power, whatever. I just want it here for easy access, but also if it gets to be a larger setup with an inverter and batteries and all of that, like it gets a little overboard, I do have it on this half wall, which will allow me to set it up in here under a countertop or something like that. But I've got some versatility on that. So disconnect, generator plug in the front, and this is to the solar power generator. That's what they want to call them, but they're the portable power banks. AC, and then one of these will be bedroom and front room. So wait, hold on. I don't know. GFCI, AC. I know this one's going to be, this one is AC. I already know that. I think I was going to put GFCI on this side and then bathroom and front room. I mean, bedroom and front room. Sorry, it's been a long, hot day today. So, yeah, I've got all of my breakers down, and then I don't think I've showed this. This is a interlock kit. Anybody that wants to safely go from one power source to another, at minimum, should go this route. What this will do is something like this. It'll slide up and down, and it's a physical lockout. So when this is on, this one can't be on at the same time. So this one will have to be off, and then in order to move this one on, you have to turn that one off in order to turn that one on. So it's a physical lockout. So you should be smart enough to not turn on the generator and plug in the battery bank at the same time, but you never know. It gets stupid hot out here, you get tired, and maybe you want to kick on the air conditioner, and the battery bank's not going to be, may not be strong enough to run it for a substantial period of time. And so, you want to kick on the AC over here, which I already have. I picked up a Sam's 8,000 BTU Medea. I know it's not one of your good brands like LG or whatever, but it is an inverter, and it's 8,000 BTUs. It seemed low, but after calculating and then having, I don't know how many discussions with Jim and I about what the plans are and the level of insulation and the square footage of this, 8,000 BTUs should be plenty. I was gonna run 12, but I was a little concerned that I would cool it down before I dried the air out. So I wanted to go down. I watch a lot of other YouTubers that build, and they're sponsors of like Mr. Cool, but they're running really, really large units that are substantially high BTU wise. And I know they're inverters, so they can ramp up and ramp down. But my father has been in the air conditioning business for many, many years, and taught me about you can actually have too many BTUs of cooling, and what that can cause is you can cool down the air, not cool down the walls, the furniture, everything else, and then also it's not running long enough to pull the moisture out of the air. So you want to be correctly sizing your air conditioners with your home. Also, nowadays, especially with like this is going to be spray foamed, and it's going to be super tight. My goal with this is to have an ultra tight container, so tight that hopefully my goal is that before I leave for periods of time, I want to be able to run the air conditioner for an hour, 2 hours without opening the door, dry out the air, close this thing up, and keep the moisture content in here low enough that nothing molds. There's a lot of conflicting theories on, should you be venting your containers? Should you be spray foaming it? Should it be sealed up? Well, here in Southeast Texas, the humidity gets to nearly 100 at night, and then of course you go through the deep dew point during the day, and then everything is wet. So my goal is, I got butyl tape. I'm going to tape up every single one of these holes all the way around, spray foam this. I'm going to caulk the tar out of this front. Like I said before in the last video, I'm going to be caulking around the seams, every gap. These will get spray foamed with the cans, and spray foamed all the way up through there. And that'll cause this to be air and moisture tight. And then even on the bottom, I'm going to lay down foam board, 3/4 inch foam board on the floor, and then 3/4 inch ply on top of that. I'll probably end up actually using the same stuff that I used up here, this 3/4 inch treated pressure pressure treated plywood, and I'm probably going to use that for the floor also. So I want this heavily insulated. There's going to be at minimum 2 inches. I'll probably go up to maybe 3 inches on the roof because of the heat load during the day is absolutely insane out here. The sun just beats and beats on this thing. So 2 inches on the walls, which we've got 3/4 inch insulation, and then 2x on the side. So 2x, you're looking at about 1.5 to 1 3/4 is the actual width plus the 3/4 inch. So the foam should come up at least halfway up that board, if not a little bit more, all the way across. So, and then of course foam up all those. My plan is to just have this thing moisture and airtight, so that, like I said, 8,000 BTUs. It is, I think they rated it for like 320 square feet, which is substantially more than this. And I shouldn't even require 8,000, but I figured that was kind of the safe number. I didn't want to undersize it and be running all the time, but I didn't want to oversize it, have moisture issues, and also I'm limited on power here. From my research, this Medea 8,000 unit it peaks out somewhere around 650 watts, and I could actually manage that on my solar generator, and also for sure on this Champion inverter generator. This is dual fuel, 3,500 running watts on gas and 3,150 on propane. It's never seen a drop of gas. It's only ran on propane, as you can see there. That's the regulator it comes with. So yeah, that thing has never seen gasoline. I can rebuild these carburetors, but I don't enjoy it, and I enjoy the lifespan of propane. You can hang on to that thing and it's not going to go bad unless a valve goes bad and then it leaks, and you know, there's that. But otherwise, that's the update. We're making progress, getting super close to that next stage of spray foam. Just a couple of small things left. Literally already got this taken care of out the wall. You can see I siliconed up the screws. I was going to do bolts, but the sheet metal screws held just fine. And the only thing I need to do is back here, this is just sitting here. Back here I need to do my DC. I've got this, I think it's 10 gauge, but it's heavy insulated 10 gauge. I don't plan on running a ton of wattage out here. So if I can get 1,000, 1,200 watts, something like that, I'm perfectly fine with it. And it's not going to be a long distance. So all that's going to be there. So yeah, there's that. And sorting this out and getting this finished up, I'm hoping my next trip out, I will be done with this to the point that it's framed out and the outside is assembled. That's where I want to be with this at the end of my next trip. So I've already taken the measurements and everything, because these little pieces like this are way easier to cut on my compound miter saw, which I haven't brought out here yet, versus my rigid table saw, or definitely easier than the Sawzall. That thing it beats up some stuff. And then this does okay, but the little pieces like that gets a little dangerous. So we're going to be using the miter saw for these little like 6-inch pieces up here. So, but as you can see, I think that's going to be beautiful. The way it worked out is this is center. So that vent is center of door with the center of the vent, which I am a little bit of an OCD freak on some things like this. I like symmetrical stuff, and this is going to work perfect. So that's the vent. If you haven't seen it, I think I may have showed it in an early video, but I may have not, and I don't know if you can see. Those are just little basically PC fans, 2 of them, Not crazy CFMs, but enough that it can pull a little bit of a draft in order to pull the stagnant, hot, moist air on the ceiling. And that's all this is designed for, is basically when I'm sleeping and it's a cooler night, I don't want this thing, you know, filling up with moisture and getting things nasty. So anyway, that's it for today. I am packing up and getting out of here. I've got some Wi-Fi cams I'm going to be putting up. I didn't get to that today. We're starting to get into a crunch with this deer season coming up. And when deer season's here, I will not be working on this at all. And I am praying that I will have this thing spray foamed. Spray foamed, which means that all of this will come out. And then more than likely, I may be done for the main part of the work. I may possibly insulate the floor after that, just so I can have everything insulated, because the spray foam on all the walls and the ceiling, and then the insulation on the floor, that shouldn't be too difficult. And I've got the table saw, and so I can get that going, take care of that. But other than that, once I get to that point, I'm probably going to be wrapping up, other than I may go ahead and get the electric just kind of wired together with some switches and stuff, and some plugs just for convenience. But other than that, that's about it. I just want this thing comfortable for the winter, and I think I'm going to be there. So awesome. Well, y'all have a great one. Thanks for stopping by. Any comments or anything, I greatly appreciate it. Any suggestions, I really do appreciate it. So y'all take it easy. God bless, and have a good one.